Welcome back, 32-Bitlanders, and thank you for checking out the second part of the episode. And here we go. Now that we've got like a little bit of the history covered for the hardcore fans, we've mentioned a little bit of this.
And they're gonna
Tell
kill
me,
us for our errors, but we apologize. We apologize. We're
I
doing our
know, I
best.
know we're not, I mean, we're not doing this because there's so much out there. Dude, it's about 20 years we need to cover in about an hour. We don't have the time to do that. Of course, there's YouTube videos that are 50 minutes long, which discuss all of this. Some of these videos have actually been dubbed and translated into other languages, which is quite interesting because I was able to watch the same video which I watched in English in Hindi in a
Oh man,
collab
that's cool.
effort, which was really cool because
That's wicked.
people are so dedicated to the franchise that they're actually bothering to translate things, stitch up videos, and them into
Thanks,
their own
guys.
language. And we love you all.
Yeah, shout out.
Now, you've played every single possible gen, one version at least, because everyone knows with every
Correct. Yes.
Pokemon you get one, two, or three different versions of the game, wherein some of these Pokemon are gen specific. I'm sorry,
Right.
they're game specific. So, just in case for people who are new to the Pokemon world, GTO, can you give us a rant on what the game is, how the game works, what the mechanics are?
All right. Well, if I had to put it in my own terms, Pokemon is the kind of game you want it to be. Now, as an adult who first got into Pokemon in my 20s, I remember thinking, "Holy cow, there's something creepy about this world. Everything's done by one company. Kids go off all on their own for a whole year, and the parents are like, bye bye." And while this is happening, there are old dudes standing around saying, "Hey, come over here to the bushes and fight me," and all sorts of stuff going on that just comes across as creepy. Like, okay, I can go into the hospital and I can heal for free. But then it just hit me. Like, that was my adult mind trying to put a stigma on something that really just represented innocence, more or less. And what Pokemon is what you want it to be. In definition form, it's an RPG. You go, you get a character, one of three starters: fire, water, grass. It's always the same. It's always gonna be the same. Well, I can't make that claim for sure. Then you go and you start going on a route after you leave your town. Professor and your mom, they say goodbye, go catch Pokemon, and you're not quite sure why. It's like a coming of age ceremony in every game. It's like, all right, man, it's time for me to get out into the world. I mean, some games, the only purpose for actually leaving your hometown is just because some adult stranger comes up to you and says, "Here is a Pokedex. Go fill this shit out." And you're like, word. Before you know it, you're less than 10-year-old kid going around different towns, which, as when we're 10 is like the fantasy. Like, yeah, mom let me do whatever I want. And then there's always, along the way, some moral dilemma. You run into the bad guys, whether it's Team Rocket or Team whatever the hell it was in that particular damn generation. And you're going around each town trying to get these badges or trials in Gen 7, because these badges that you get from gyms, they signify how you are as a trainer. And there are different kinds of trainers, as you learn in every Pokemon game. People who only care about the strength of their Pokemon, and then there's people who only care about the connections to their Pokemon. And the games then start to dive into these concepts like, what kind of trainer are you? And that's when you get to decide, what kind of trainer am I? You keep collecting your badges with the goal of eventually facing the Elite Four and becoming champion of the Pokemon League, which is always at the end of the game. But across whatever vistas you're traveling, you're gonna face the ultimate climax of this moral dilemma: face the bad guys, bring them to justice, and then afterwards you just happen to go to the league. So it's like, when you're playing a Pokemon game, you are basically playing a journey that you get to interpret as whatever you want it to represent from whatever in your life made you decide to play this game and to be a part of this world. And it even
Hmm.
gets more so when you start getting online, because when you register yourself online as a Pokemon trainer, you get an ID, and you use this ID for your life. Every Pokemon you get from any cartridge that's legitimate, that can be transferred, even if you've transferred it and traded it all the way up from the Game Boy days, has a unique personality, a number attached to it. It's like what they did was they took this digital coding for these animals, even though there's infinite copies of each, and they really made it so that, like, if you are playing a game, you are playing and you're using a Pokemon that you brought from 10 years ago, you are using that same creature, its personality, everything about it. It's not just the same character in another game, it is the same exact Pokemon. And so it's like they trick you with the simplicity. Like, okay, here's a simple RPG. Go see the credits. But it's always when those credits start to roll that you realize, oh my God, this is when the game begins. You get a national Pokedex in most games except for a Generation 7. You start to go out and see how many more creatures there are. And even if you aren't even into Pokemon in the beginning and just want an RPG like I was, the charm that they exude takes you over. And you start to become curious about all their moves and their move sets. And you start to realize after a while, wow, just by messing around, I got a few hundred. And then, oh, I've made a significant chunk in the dent that is the national Pokedex. National meaning every region is based on a real place. 4 of them are based off actual places in Japan. The rest are in other countries. But as you go on, you have accidentally started your own journey. And it is not a journey that lasts for 1 game or 2 or 4. There is no right or wrong place to start Pokemon, because you can start Gen 7, 1, 4, 2, 3, or whatever order you want, and that's your journey. And that's
you
what I
build
like about it.
and you build and you build.
Yeah, and in this world where things get so messed up, right? Where, you know, you walking down the street and you can't talk to a stranger because that person might try to jack you up or whatever. Like in this game that was originally so creepy to you because you're thinking like I said before, there's one company that sells everything. All they sell are Pokeballs and potions. Like everybody's standing in a corner in a bush, like, come over here, little child, let's have a battle. I mean, there was this like one Pokemon game. It was a remake of Gen 2 where every single damn trainer you meet in the game is like, hey, can I have your phone number? We're talking like old men in their like 40s, like hikers, like
Damn.
hot 45-year-old ladies, and then like schoolgirls and everything, and they all just start randomly calling you. You're like and you pick up your phone like, hey, how's it going, man? This is Bubba. I just want to let you know that my Caterpie is badass. Click. And as this goes on, you're like, holy shit, it's gotten so weird to the point where it's not weird anymore. And then
Right.
you relax and you
The
realize
weirdness
that it's
get
just
normalized.
the vision of a universe where everyone's living in harmony doesn't really need explanation. And that the people that go out and try to justify or say stuff to make it seem like it's has a deeper, sinister meaning, that they just haven't really gotten the point yet. That Pokemon is just about peace. Nothing ever dies in the game. The bad guys always find some kind of redemption. And battling Pokemon, which is funny because, you know, people go to jail in the States for fighting animals. Like, it's something that the Pokemon desire.
I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but
no, dude, I was just going on a rant. That needs to happen sometimes. You need to drop the hammer.
The GTO rant.
Rant.
Mark's in.
Yo,
Hi,
Mark.
sorry about that, guys. Sorry. I'm really sorry.
That's fine.
What a fucking day I've had today. What a fucking day.
Well, Mark,
I'll tell you guys later.
We were just
did some old guy in a bush try to battle you?
No, this small guy in the bush tried to blow me for 50 RMB.
Oh,
Dude,
I was close. Oh,
at least he didn't ask you for your phone number. But yeah, I was trying to sum up what.
Did he ask you how your Caterpie was?
So I was trying to sum up
he wanted
this
to see
rant.
my Weedle. But I gave him the Beedrill.
GTO went on a rant what Pokemon is to him, and I was just trying to sum up in a sentence what essentially Pokemon is supposed to be. With every gen, there's new Pokemon. There's gyms, there's a story attached to it, there's certain changes to gameplay, there's some newly introduced stuff. the evolution of Pokemons, legendary Pokemon, some new characters, changes to your clothes, changes to your backpacks, things that you can carry, moon shards, sun shards, meteors that fall that can enhance Pokemons or create
Evolve.
absolutely new Pokemons out of thin air. Like certain Pokemons were born outside the Earth's stratosphere. There were certain Pokemons that were born in the
Deoxys,
ozone layer.
Deoxys.
And yeah, so there's in the
Can I
Pokemon
give you
universe.
my little brief history of Pokemon? Like, I'll really keep it quiet.
I'm gonna come back to you in like just summing this up for the listeners. Just like I had a question for you as well about this. In terms of how we dissect each generation of the game, with the introduction of whatever new was introduced, and also having the other media outlets like comics, movies. In my opinion, Pokemon is the one franchise which has the least retcons but the most confusing timeline.
Unless you're playing Kingdom Hearts. I mean, yeah, a lot of that goes back to the trading card game and whatnot. But if you're just playing through the titles themselves, a lot of what you were talking about isn't really even touched upon because every game they only focus on the mythos surrounding the particular legendaries that are involved in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah, and
so
that region and the things specific to that
yeah,
region.
we're
They
gonna
might
get into
talk
the
about
regions.
other regions or
We're
whatever.
gonna get into the regions. You're into the meat, Mark. Anyways, Mark, I'd ask this of
Speaking of
GDO.
meat, is there any meat in Pokemon? Sorry, just had to ask
I
that.
think there is,
Is
right?
there
Like,
any
don't you get,
meat? No, you can buy protein. But they never tell you where the fuck it comes from. Is there any meat in
you can
Pokemon?
buy
Have you?
eggs. You can buy
That
That's
meat.
not
doesn't even
meat. That's
count. That doesn't
Ham.
count. I mean, there's like there's like tarts, there's like malasadas and all that shit.
I've
But
seen
have
ham
I
in
ever
the
gotten a
anime.
steak?
Brock was eating
Ham.
ham in
Okay.
the anime ways back when.
yeah. They eat food in the anime, but in the game you don't like go and like collect like pork loin or like
Interesting.
It's a wonderful world
sho-
of carbohydrates. It's
shoulder of lamb. Yeah, you don't get anything like that.
Yeah,
Puffs.
So
I
yeah,
would
Poke Puffs.
never ever be a part of the Pokemon
but
world if there's no meat. I'm a carnivore. All right, Mark.
But
Uh,
meat is a good category for them to base another Pokemon off because they've literally went through every single animal in the world. They
Not
went
really.
through other loads of random shit.
Not
So
really.
if
Not
you think of
really.
Pokemon now, like to try and come up with an original Pokemon now after they have like 800 is really hard. So now let's just go for meat. Yeah.
Oh shit!
Pastrami,
My Chuck evolved into a T-bone. Holy shit!
man. Yeah.
Right, Mark.
Oh,
I'm
no,
gonna
it's a
hit you with the
filet
same
mignon!
question.
Alright, sorry.
Dudes. I'm gonna hit you with the same question, Mark, that I hit GTO with. You've played a bunch of these games off and on, but there was one of your favorite games that you played to death, Pokemon Blue. This
Yeah.
was a Gen 1 game, if I'm not mistaken, right? But I
This
think
is the originals. in the
original one.
West. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the
So,
West, we got red
that's
and
where
blue.
you
They
started.
got red and green.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where you start. Blue was a mix of their red and blue, red and green.
No, they had red and green. That was it. We had red and blue. Basically the same thing, but our blue was their green.
But I
It's
thought
different
thing.
rivals, right?
I thought that
Different
came
rivals
after yellow, which was the true
No,
localized.
No.
Yellow came after those two.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, green
so
was-
see,
green-
that's
green was
that's
a
the thing
chick,
I was
wasn't
talking
she?
about. The timeline, way too fucked to explain.
No,
the
it's
release of,
it's the same game. It's the same game. The reason they released Yellow was the success of Pikachu. Pikachu became a phenomenon, and they
Yeah.
thought, oh, holy, why don't we base a game around Pikachu? So they added Pikachu. You can see him. He follows you. It was exactly the same game as
But
Red and
Pikachu
Blue,
was able
or
to follow
red,
you.
Red and green.
right.
Isn't
Okay.
that when they released
Mark.
the first
And you could-
Pikachu communicating device too? Like the first
Yeah, and
peripheral
you
that
could
went with the
also
game?
you could also catch a wild Bulbasaur and a wild Squirtle and a wild Charmander in Yellow, which you couldn't in Red and Blue. You had to choose one of
Right.
the three.
Or
And if you
trade,
wanted
yeah.
That was
others,
your
you had to
starter
trade.
Pokemon.
Yeah, Pikachu was your starter in Yellow.
But you
and
couldn't
could catch the
evolve.
rest.
You couldn't evolve Pikachu in blue.
You could in Blue, yeah, of course you could.
Yeah,
You could?
Pikachu was there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Think,
So
Yellow
go
was
on.
the definitive edition. Let's put it that way.
okay. Go on,
Yeah,
Mark.
it was like the
Take us through your Pokemon
I'll take
journey.
you on a journey.
Yes,
I'll
please.
take you on a journey.
This is
Okay,
what the episode's about.
This was 1996, right? We were camping like my family and me, in France. This was during the World Cup as well. In France, the World Cup was going on in France. So we had like booked a few different places in different cities and different towns in France. One a big caravan, one a big tent, and we just driving around France, staying in different places, doing different shit, and also like watching the World Cup and stuff. It was really cool. And we never had satellite TV at home. Like a few friends did, but back then it was fucking expensive, right? And I remember in the caravan, like you could pay a little bit extra to have that one going into the caravan to give you satellite TV. And one morning I woke up and I turned on the TV. Pokemon was on the fucking TV. I was like, oh my God. What the fuck is this? This was like 7 a.m. So for every day after that, I got my mum to wake me up at 7 a.m. to watch Pokemon. And then all of a sudden, walking around Lorient, whatever you'd say in English and French, we went past this game store. And the original Game Boy, there was no region lock, was there? So you could play games from any country.
No, there was.
Game Boy.
At that time, I had no idea what the fuck a region lock was.
No. There was a region lock. There was Europe, there was Japan, and then there was the US.
We saw a game shop and I saw Pokemon like advertised on the window, blue and red. I was like, oh my fucking God. My brother was a little bit older than me. My brother was like, fuck this kiddie shit. I was like, oh my God, Mum, please, please, please. I literally on the floor, on my hands and knees, begging. Anyway, she bought me it. What color do you want, red or blue? I was like, I'll go for blue. Just blue. I don't know why. Anyway. And since then, Christ, I played that game to death. I got the full Pokedex. I even got Mew. I had to go to like a special thing in Newcastle in Gateshead where Nintendo were there, and you could stand in a line, give them your cartridge, and they would download Mew to your cartridge.
Yeah, we were talking about Mew.
Yeah.
I got five Mews because I kept going back around and wiping off the stamp in my hand. And then I was selling the Mews to kids in my street for £10 each. These kids were younger. They were younger than me. Like I was literally like, you don't have Mew, you don't have shit. Like, oh, I need Mew. They were running home like getting £10 off their mum coming out there. The parents even questioned me sometimes, like, Mark, what is this Mew? I'm like, well, this is the thing, you can't get it. You know, it's really special, it's really, really rare. It's going to be worth a fortune. They're like, okay, so they're getting their wallets out and their purses. And I got £50 worth of Mews that I sold, but I kept two Mew. I kept one Mew for myself, but I eventually sold that cartridge. Damn, I should have kept it. But yeah, I ended up going to France playing Link's Awakening and coming back from France playing Pokemon. So that was my journey, and yeah.
Thanks, guys, for watching this episode. The next episode's up on the cards there. Check it out.